Today on Parts Hold, we're going to talk to Kurtis Wilde. He is a technology master when it comes to the parts department. We're also going to talk a little bit about a weird request that I got from Cliff recently. And then we're also going to talk about why being a 6-year-old is the best way to understand my jokes. That and much, much more coming up today on Parts Hold.
Here to fill the order.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited to talk to our guest. I would say that he is by far, in terms of our social media, the most active participant in everything that we do. He is always providing great insight, and he is the Cliff, you probably would agree with this, but he is the next generation, I think, of parts manager. He is redefining for me what is possible for parts managers to do. So he's been in the automotive industry since he was 14 years old. For those of you scoring at home, that's 2 years before I should have gotten a driver's license. But I cannot tell you how excited he is from Chilliwack, British Columbia, and is working as a parts manager in a Honda store currently. But let's welcome Kurtis Wilde to the show. How you doing, Kurtis?
Good. How are you?
We're doing fine. Better than ever is how I usually like to say it, until Cliff starts talking about cats, and then it gets a little bit hairy.
Kurtis, do you like cats?
I definitely don't. I'm allergic to my cat, and I don't like it.
Just so you know that I was not the correct answer.
Yeah, I think really when you come on this show, Kurtis, you have to understand you have to pick a side, and there's no one can be in the middle. And Cliff, I'm so sorry. He said he's a dog person.
Yeah. We've got 2 dogs and 1 cat.
2 dogs, 1 cat. How'd you end up with a cat?
My wife will blame me, but I'll blame her. I took her to the pet store and came home with a so it's my fault for going, her fault for getting it.
Yeah, and the only reason you did that is because they didn't have dogs, probably. I'm gonna assume.
No, we had a dog at that point too. We lived on a farm. It seemed like a good idea.
Kurtis, this is slipping away
from
us. So what you're saying is you voluntarily went and adopted / purchased / inherited a cat.
Yeah.
On purpose.
Kurtis, have you heard my theory on cats?
I have not heard your theory on cats.
So I feel like cats, you have to earn their affection and earn their love. And dogs, you don't necessarily have to do that. They pretty much like everyone. Cats are not always that way. So that's why I think cats are important.
I think the best book ever written about cats was a classic from the early 2000s, 101 Ways That Your Cat Is Trying to Kill You. That's probably like the benchmark for what to expect out of cats. And ownership, which obviously Kurtis is experiencing that right now.
Yeah.
So Kurtis, as we talk a little bit about your history, you're a lifelong automotive industry guy, but you did hop out for a few years, right? So what were you doing when you left the business for a little bit?
Well, my original goal was to become an automotive technician, but I was in a car accident when I was 18. I got T-boned at an intersection, and doctors told me it was time to think of a different plan. So I went back to school. I challenged grade 10, 11, and 12 in about 3 months, got my grade 12, continued through college and became a community support worker. And I focused specifically on working with children with developmental disabilities.
Wow. Oh, that's great. And I'd asked you this earlier, but I thought it was a great answer. So I wanted to kind of share this with the rest of the audience. What are some of the lessons that stick out to you regarding doing that, which I think is amazing work for humanity just in itself? But
biggest thing I think that stuck out for me was leadership. And working with individuals of all different types, you learn to facilitate their success. It's their hands that really do the work. It's just, we help point them in the right direction and to help them succeed.
That's great.
Yeah, that's cool. That's one of those things where I think that the whole premise of that kind of work is that you literally, like, the joy comes from seeing the success in others, which is a really good start for leadership. 100%. But that's cool that you did that. It kind of speaks to your character. So, and then, so then you get back into the car business and you start out in the parts department, but you're not running it yet. So tell me how you got started in the parts room.
I got moved into parts. I washed cars in the summer, and as the summer wrapped up, they decided not to let me go, and I landed in parts, and pretty quickly, took to that. And I had a good teacher, Michael, who taught me the ropes and showed me everything I needed to know. And kind of from there, I really took off. I really like computers and working with software programs and stuff. So it didn't take very long, and I was rebuilding or asking to build the programs so we could use our DMS to our advantage.
Yeah, and that's really exciting. I'm super pumped to talk about this because I think that we're gonna bust up against, I think, what people think is possible in the parts room, because our topic today is talking about how technology can enhance and make your parts department better than it's ever been. And I really am excited because we were talking before the show, and I think that what you guys are going to find is that there's almost no limits to what we can accomplish when we blend our parts departments together with the technology that's there, as opposed to trying to kind of fight it. And I think Cliff has talked about that in the past before, that, there's been some technologies that he's done a good job of embracing them. There's some stuff that you fought in the past, but Kurtis, it seems like you're really, really open. You have an awesome level of like creativity. One of my favorite things that you do is you own a 3D printer, which I feel like, yeah, he owns 2 3D printers. Sorry, 2 3D printers. And could you imagine the stuff that I would make if I had a 3D printer?
I know what I would like for you to make.
I have an idea too. Does it have anything to do with the text that you sent me the other day? One of the weirdest texts I've ever received in my life.
100% has everything to do with that text message I sent you the other day.
Yeah, so you got to make sure that you give a good backstory to this, because otherwise people won't think it's as weird as I do. Please continue on.
Well, so what do you want me to go ahead and tell you what the text was?
Yeah.
So the text I sent you was twofold. I had a serious question, and then I had a favor to ask. To which you replied, "Oh, I can't wait." And so I asked my serious question, and then I asked you to pick me up a grocery bag from the grocery store around the corner from your house.
Yeah. Grocery Outlet Bargain Market, I think, is the name of that place.
Yes.
And literally, when you think about basement businesses, this isn't a basement.
Yes, you walk down steps into it. That's 100%.
Yeah.
Riyadh.
So tell me what it is about this bag in particular. There's a reason. So I'm going to walk into this store. I'm going to pay 18 cents for 10 cents or 15 cents for a bag for Cliff to have, because there's no other way you could possibly get a bag.
Well, so the backstory is I travel with a lot of my own food. So I prepare my meals on Sunday, package them in containers, and then I stick them into a said grocery bag. And that way when I get to TSA or wherever, and if I need to pull them out of my bag, it's all nice and neat into the grocery bag, and I pull that out and set it onto the scanner to be scanned and check whatever they need.
And do they laugh at you when that happens? Do they pull their other TSA friends over and point and stuff like that?
The time it's ever gotten weird was I left super early out of Charlotte one morning, about 4:30 in the morning. And I was taking fish for the week. And so I had containers of fish and asparagus. Actually, I had fish and zucchini. And I was going to Colorado. And I remember the TSA agent said, I need to open this up. I said, well, that's fine. I said, fish. And she changed her mind. But back to the reason why I love this bag. I've carried this same grocery bag for going on 2.5 years.
2 years, yeah.
Like, it's a great bag. I mean, maybe you can find a better grocery bag somewhere else in the United States, but I want that one, and I want it from that dirty grocery store.
Yeah, and you'll get it, sir.
Yes, and I made a valid exchange, a valuable commodity to you in exchange for this bag.
Which I would say, arguing, I'm getting the better end of the deal by far.
Monetarily, but value wise, I'm getting way more work out of that 18-cent bag.
I don't know. I'm pretty emotionally attached to the thing that I'm getting from you. I'm getting a cup from the state of Mississippi.
Yes, you are.
Which I don't know about everyone else. I don't travel to Mississippi that often.
But so you will have it. I was going to send it to you, but I'm deciding not to because I'll see you in a few weeks. So
yeah, we'll do that.
I'm bringing it with me.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. We've got that our first in-person coaching meeting of the year coming up, and that's going to be May 18th and 19th in Los Angeles at our new library, which is really exciting. It's you guys should see it. It's almost done. Chris is actually in there right now recording a Facebook Live post, so that's pretty cool. But like that thing's up and running. It's like the Death Star is fully operational, if I can borrow a Star Wars quote, since we were talking Star Wars earlier today. But yeah, I think that at this point, do you think Kurtis is only partially or completely regretting that he agreed to come on and hang out with us? Because he's like, these two are weird.
Fully right now, because he can't understand why on earth I would want a grocery bag, and he has no idea why you would want your 39th or 40th coffee cup.
Yeah, there's just no reason for anything what we do. So let's get us started here. So this is where I'm going to turn everything over essentially to Kurtis, and he's going to go down a list of technologies that he's using in the parts department to really enhance the performance of the parts department, the efficiency of the part department. At the end of the day, it's got a lot to do with the profitability of the parts department. But let's talk technology, Kurtis, and I'm going to kind of turn it over to you.
All right, so item number one would be to utilize your DMS system. These systems are constantly growing, so a huge thing for me is making that stocking level be where you need it to be at your store, and making the computer system build that for you automatically. I don't have to build our replenishment orders. I don't have to do any calculations for what I should stock. And it does all of that for me now. So that's been a huge change as far as time's concerned. I have to review it, but I don't actually have to generate it. It does all that for me. It takes a lot of time to build it, but once it's built, it's there forever.
Do you are you going back and evaluating your demand for items, like your in and outs?
In PBS, when we build our system, it knows our phase in and phase outs as we've decided. I've got about 50 source codes that it navigates through to separate the inventory into different categories, and I can run each of those 50 sources and differently with different escalators, different stocking rules and stuff. So that lets us navigate, like menu maintenance, based items, oil changes, all that kind of stuff. We know they're going to be here, and they're going to be here for a long time. As we ran through product supply shortages, these items that kept our doors open became something you wanted to have a ready supply of, whereas, maybe an alternator that you sell 3 times a year perhaps wasn't as important as it once was, because it's not going to be the item that keeps the doors open. If you're going to invest your money into inventory, it's got to be into something that keeps you guys safe and keeps the techs working.
So you are splitting it up. You're using your DMS to split up the stocking groups, although you're on an automatic replenishing order from your manufacturer. Do I understand that right?
No automatic replenishment from the manufacturer. We do all of that ourselves. So I use my DMS to do that for me.
Have you ever used an automatic replenishing?
I have not. And up here we don't get that. Not from Honda anyways. So I've never used it before.
Okay, great. That's great. I love that you're separating it out and stocking some things differently. You're paying really close attention to the phase in, phase out criteria, which I think is an element that newer parts managers and even some of the guys that have been doing it for a little while have gotten away from because of the simplicity of the automatic replenishing orders. But you're looking at it, your inventory on a much almost you've got kind of an overview, and then you're zooming into it as well. So I kind of like that, kind of a zoom out for observant, and then the zoom in, kind of a focus of the items based on your stocking groups is what it sounds like.
Yeah. I run it every time I generate a stocking order. So we probably guaranteed phase in, phase out everything once a month, perhaps even as often as every week when we go through it. So it's 2 clicks is all it takes, and it tells you what's in, what's out. And once they end that phase out, you just let them sell and never bring them back.
Cool. What's next, Kurtis?
The item number 2 would be pricing. So pricing matrices, controlling the those special menu price based items. So Honda's really big on menu pricing. So all of our basic maintenance, minder system, all of that's locked. So no escalators or any systems there for that. But you do have all of the other OE parts that you can, as well as jobber car parts and various things. So part of that sourcing setup, it allows us to control our pricing game, and we can add our handling fees and everything one by one on a part by part basis. So we've built a system now that holds about 48% gross on average, or greater, with the exception of tires. And up here in Canada, the tire grosses are pretty darn low. We sit at about 25% there.
Oh, we've got stores down in the states that are lower than that. So good job kidding the 25%, to be honest with you. 48% solid, though. That's great.
So building the system the way that we got it, with the escalators attached to all the different sources, has allowed for, fail safe. There's no way to get around the system as far as the parts guys are concerned. You have no choice but to kind of work within it. So even if you put something in the wrong source, it's still got the safety nets built within to push the parts back to the right GL account, as well as escalate to its proper home base.
It sounds like you're buying into the belief that if you buy it different, stock it different, or sell it different, you're sourcing it different. Do I understand that correct?
Yeah. PBS is really cool for their system. The way that they've designed it is the source, each source can control your inventory level and control your pricing game. So from what I've seen with like CDK, you can't necessarily do all of these different things within a single source. So I can control my volume in a source. So if I sell 1,000 parts, I can tell it I want to have X amount of days supply. So yeah, I would say, like Napa, TNT, Honda, repair parts, brake pads, oil filters, all these different things would have different sources with a different function behind why we're doing that.
Cool. I love it. All right. So definitely, I think the thing that I heard as a theme is that, a lot of people use that DMS because they have to. But what you're saying is figure out what features are available on the DMS and then go to work on those. And there's a reason they put the feature in. I think at the end of the day is kind of the lesson is that I think if you don't know all the features of the DMS, that's on you, not on them. And I love that what you're looking for is efficiency and opportunity. So that's great. Good stuff. What's next, Kurtis?
Fully digitize your system. We don't accept anything other than digital parts requests, whether that's from a technician, service advisor, whether it's a service repair order or an appointment. No matter how we do it, it's completely digital. The quotes are digital, they're emailed. The estimates are digital, they're emailed. All of our deposits, anything like that, it's text to pay if you want to use card over phone. But it really keeps things clean and everything's tracked. There's no lost written parts requests. There's no pointing fingers. It's pretty clear as far as an audit trail is concerned.
So do your technicians, how are they sending you parts requests? They're sending that through the DMS?
Everything's digital. So on their side of it, when they're clocked into the job, they can click add parts request and then they just type what they need. They don't need to give us the part number, but they'll give us the list. If they need 3 O-rings and an alternator or whatever else they might need to do a repair, they can send that all through line by line on our system.
And then it just pops up a notification for your accountant person. Yeah,
just like a text message on your phone, it pops up on the corner of the screen, lets you know that there's something for you to do. You click that, it automatically opens the service order, and then as the parts advisor, you can fill the request. And then same thing back to the service advisor, send it back to them, same thing. Pops up like a text message for them. They jump in and could carry on with their passing it to the customer.
So I'm have to ask, just because I'm wondering, do your technicians embrace that?
They definitely didn't at first, but all it takes is one missed part, and all of a sudden you start to see how a better system might be required, right? I mean, we're parts guys, we're not mechanics. I don't know cars like these guys do, and it would be disrespectful for me to even pretend that I do. They've got a lot of training and education behind what they do. So all they got to do is send me a list, and I promise you, I'll find it for you.
I love it. I love that. Absolutely love it. Are you taking, just a little side question, are you taking parts to your technicians?
We bring them out as often as we possibly can. So if sometimes we're pretty busy with the body shops and customers at our counter, which case we've got a back counter that's ready to go with a wall full of bins for them. They can grab them there. But most of the time, I think we do a pretty good job of running the parts out.
Yeah, I love the phrase accountability trail. That's that's a good way to put that. I think that we should all have accountability trails.
You can't fix something if you don't know what you're looking at, right? So it's easy to point a finger, but it's not really the intention. It's about fixing what comes next, right? So where did we go wrong and how do we fix it?
Yeah, it also reminds me of one of my favorite sayings, facts over feelings, right?
Yeah.
If somebody just feels like you never gave me the quote, or where you're kind of like, oh yeah, I see that was sent to you at 2:26 p.m. on April 14th. There's a different conversation to be had at that point. So That's pretty cool. Good stuff, Kurtis. All right, what's next on your list? This was my favorite one, by the way.
I hope so. Communications with customers. So we've got everything pre-built. We will send customers notifications as parts arrive. It'll send them a text message. We will send them thank you letters or notes to them as once they've actually picked up the order. So it usually waits 24 hours, and it's note written from me that lets them know thank you for ordering with us, and we look forward to serving you again.
Yeah, that's the thing that really hit me. So Chris tells a story all the time about the difference between purchasing stuff in person or purchasing stuff online. So he's like, the example that he gives is like, okay, so let's say that I go to a bookstore and I buy 10 different books, and he goes to check out and he hands the cashier the money. The cashier gives him the change, and they put the bag in, or the books in the bag, and then they hand the bag to him and he leaves and they don't say anything. But if he orders books online, he gets a message that says, thank you so much, Chris, for your order. And you feel immediately appreciated. And what you're doing is just kind of taking that customer connection to the different levels that no one can interact with you without a thank you. And that's really, really cool.
Yeah, so we do that for anybody that comes through the counter at all, whether it's an order or an in-stocked item. And we try to make it so, if you had an interaction that required this, make a follow-up phone call. If you've got someone you worked real hard with rims or something, phone them a few days later and ask, how they feel about it. And we find that that's a real big thing, is with our customers is build that relationship, just like they would on the service counter. It's no different.
How many customers would you say that you're getting repeat business back from?
On the parts counter, I easily dozens. I probably hundreds. There's a lot of back and forth interaction from parts to service. I focus really hard on not necessarily having just the parts customer, but trying to flip it into service customers. So, if someone comes in for a timing belt, ask them, is this really a job you want to, you need the tensioner and all the other components involved in that. On the Honda side of the fence, we always do a valve adjustment at the same time. And did you know that? And try to really flip it back to that counter. But then what you've done is really created a two-way relationship, right? It's not just service anymore; it's parts and service. And they come in and see us and see the service team, and we've got a handful of customers that really like interacting with both sides.
That's great. I love it. Okay, I think we have two more. If we have the same list.
I only know of one, unless I'm forgetting one. One of the big ones for me is beta team. So at PBS, we are on their beta support team. So we're constantly suggesting, we're piloting the stuff. So we certainly see a lot of things go sideways fast. I've had, an entire month worth of shop supplies get deleted. Some of the bad things, but the plus side, we get to be a huge part of their development and suggesting ideas and seeing that growth and seeing the things that we want to see come to light. And that can be really, really cool to see.
Nice. I like that. I'm going to throw one at you that you gave to me earlier that I really like, using the digital scheduler.
Digital scheduler.
Yes.
So I use a platform through HR4. It schedules my day. It tells me everything I need to do, when I need to do it, how long it takes to get it done. Especially as a parts manager, when you're pulled in 14 directions at once, you've got the wholesale guys with questions, the shop with questions, advisors with questions. Oh, your phone just rang. You've got a wholesale provider looking to sell you some product, and that my checklist really lets me know exactly what I'm doing, where I'm doing it, and how long it's going to take to get it done. I use a digital notepad as well, so it saves everything to my phone as I use it. So I know I believe I've heard you guys talk about a notepad and a pen in a previous podcast. So I think I've taken that to another level where it's a digital notepad that saves all those notes to my phone. So as I delete them, they're not gone; they're saved in my phone forever.
Yeah, and then you're using how many screens do you have attached to your laptop?
I got three screens plus my laptop, and then I utilize my phone. And I actually bought a smartwatch for work. It's not for fitness, not for my heart rate, nothing like that.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. That was the digital scheduler. There was a couple of these that were really good. I think Connect with the Customer was my favorite. Using the digital scheduler, and just the fact that like you embrace all types of devices just to get your job done. But I would guess that probably the thing that makes the biggest difference is that like you're guarding your time. It's pretty amazing. So before we head off, Cliff, I have a question for you.
Fire away.
Knock knock.
Oh gosh, who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cat.
Moo.
My daughter told me that joke this weekend, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe it. How old's your daughter?
She's 6.
Yeah, that's right in my wheelhouse.
There you go,
Curtis.
There.
Yeah, I think I heard it about 25 times in a row.
Yeah, it never gets old. It's so wonderful. So you'll have to share with her that joke got used on a podcast. That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for your time and being here today. And I thought this was super informative. And I just would say that like really at the end of the day, this technology thing, it can be a pain in the butt if we want it to be, or it can be the way to get the edge in the marketplace. So I hope everybody kind of sees that. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Parts Hold.
Here to fill the order.